Hola amigos and welcome back to Spanish Quickie, brought to you by the Spanish Doctor. Today we'll be talking about el voseo, the use of vos. Vos is commonly used now as a second person singular form. So it is kind of used in place of tu. It's not always exactly the case, but that's the general idea behind it. Vos comes from Latin. In Latin, a singular person was tu, that is, when you address them directly. And when you addressed more than one person directly, you would say vos, or it looks the same as vos. Now, you may be familiar with the French way of addressing more than one person, vous. And you may also know that vous is used for one person when you want to treat them with respect. It was the same in Spanish. Vos, for one person, became a way to treat somebody with respect. You didn't want to say tú to somebody because maybe they weren't your friend, maybe they were your lord, your sire, maybe they were the king. And in fact, at some ceremonies, the King of Spain is referred to with vos. So it does survive in that very small niche environment in Spain. And in Spain, they otherwise don't use it, but it had a medieval history, and that's in medieval times is when people started using vos as a form of respect. And shortly after the medieval period is when Spanish explorers went to different parts of the world and obviously founded lots of colonies in the Americas, and they took their vos with them. But eventually it died off in Spain, although it did hang around with vosotros. Vosotros is a form I sometimes talk about here on this channel. So in Spain, it's kind of like you, all, y'all, and you use it with your friends when you're talking to more than one of your friends or peers. Vosotros. Funnily, it's vos plus otros. People kind of forgot that vos was already plural and they added otros to it. Vos otros, you others. So they were trying to say more than one. And the same thing happened with nos. Originally it was just nos and it became nosotros to focus on the plurality of the word. And in English, you might notice that some people say you guys, y'all, but you was originally plural, or at least the predecessor of you. I think ye, you, ye, that's a plural form, but we kind of forgot that that's plural and we say y'all. And I've even heard some people say all y'all, just to make sure we're driving the message home that we're speaking to somebody in a plural way. So now, back to vos. There's some countries where it's preferred over tu. In Central America, for example, those countries the people there tend to use vos among their peers. And what's funny about vos is that there are a lot of similarities between countries, but then there are also plenty of anecdotes. It's hard to pin down exact rules. For example, my friend from Guatemala told me that he would use vos with his closest friends and tu for someone he didn't know as well, and usted for when definitely the situation demanded a bit more formality. And this was kind of similar for my ex-girlfriend from El Salvador, but in her case, she would tend to use vos with women and tú with the male friends that she had. So I don't know how common that is. It might be a person thing, it might be a region thing, I'm not sure, because it does vary quite a bit. People often say that Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay use vos primarily, but I've had professors that were from the northern part of Argentina that would use tú with us and would never use vos with the students. They call us tú. So there are a lot of regional differences, and it's hard to pinpoint all the exact rules. But generally, the countries that do use vos are using the forms of vosotros in a slightly different way. So to give you a general idea of how it might be used, I want you to consider the conjugations of vosotros. So we have estáis, vosotros estáis, vosotros coméis, vosotros vivís. For AR and ER verbs, take off the I in the vosotros form. So it's not vosotros estáis, it's vos estás. Now that one does obviously sound like the tú form, but let's look at another AR verb, hablar. Vosotros habláis, vos hablas. You take off the I. Coméis. Vosotros coméis, vos comes. Take off the I. Vosotros vivís. With IR verbs, there's no change. Vos vivís. This is generally how you can figure out how to conjugate vos in many countries, especially Central America and the Rio de la Plata region, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay. In other countries, they might do it a bit differently, or they might sometimes say vos and use a tú ending, or use tú, as in the case of Chile, and have a modified vosotros type conjugation. It can get confusing. But know that most of the Spanish world is familiar with the use of vos, and it's generally not taught in books just because it's hard to standardize that form. And honestly, it's also been looked down upon for many years by publishers of textbooks. Recently, however, the Royal Academy of the Spanish language has been putting vos in its dictionary. So actually, with any verb you look up, you can find a form of vos. This form, however, kind of sticks more to what is used in Central America and the Rio de la Plata region. So in case anyone ever asks you, ¿Cómo estás vos? Well, you'll know that they're talking to you, and you'll be able to answer. If you don't know how to say vos, just use tú, they'll understand you, I'm quite sure.